Hello, good day to everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar, How to Select the Right Loudspeaker. You're joining a new webinar today, again in context of repeating the basics of PA. Today we're going to look a little bit further again, how to select the right loudspeaker. We looked at it in the two previous sessions already, and this is a continuation of that. So yeah, today again, Jan-Peter Smolders, application engineer based out of Eindhoven, who knows a lot about loudspeakers. So Jan-Peter, I give you once more the stage, and please educate us on selecting the right loudspeaker.
All right, thanks, Maarten. Yeah, welcome everybody. Today the third session again of loudspeakers, getting to know what a loudspeaker can do and to be able to make the right choice for your application. Now in this webinar we'll have the following topics. We'll have a look at the how a loudspeaker works, a short introduction, the loudspeaker categories, a selection of loudspeakers, some tools we have, and loudspeaker data files. So loudspeaker choice. If you have to choose a loudspeaker, it depends on different aspects. If you use it indoors or outdoors in the field, what aspects are important? The most obvious one is the mounting position, of course. Is it in the wall, on a ceiling? So you look at the different categories we have within Bosch. The sound level, important for intelligibility. Remember we talked about noise in a room and yeah, the fact that you'll have to have 10 dB sound pressure level to be intelligible enough inside that room. The power of a loudspeaker is important. If you have a room with, for instance, 10 loudspeakers of 6 watt, you need to match it to an amplifier that can deliver at least 60 watt as well. Certification for voice alarm systems, we have EM54 certified loudspeakers. The environment, for instance, the IP rating we looked at, the ingress protection of a loudspeaker. Do you want to use it in your application for speech only, or yeah, if speech is important, or do you need background music or maybe foreground music? Is it a large or small environment? We have, for instance, if you look here on the right, top right picture, we have a sound projector, which is a real large one, which can cover large areas, for instance. Then reverberation, is your environment made of glass, for instance? You have a lot of reverb, a lot of reflections from that. So you might want to use a column loudspeaker, like you see on the right here, the Vari loudspeaker, that you can project the sound to the listening area, just to prevent all those reflections. And then must it be must you be able to integrate it into a certain room. We see that some architects would like to have a loudspeaker which is not visible at all, just flush mounted maybe, or painted in the same color as the wall, for instance. So different applications require different loudspeakers. Now that's what we're going to look at. If you look at applications, the possible applications that we see, for instance, a conference hall where speech is important, shopping mall, high ceilings, maybe also a lot of noise. You need maybe also music in the background. Swimming pools, they have special environments where you need to be certified for chlorine. Airports, a lot of reverberation, a lot of glass, maybe steel or something like that. The industry with a lot of noise, and so you might need horns over there. Exhibition halls, large rooms where with high ceilings, well, etc. There are different applications. They'll require their specific loudspeakers. Now back to the basics. What does a loudspeaker do actually? It's a transducer. It will convert the electrical power, electrical audio signal into sound waves. How does it do that? The the sound, let's say the original sound, which you speak maybe into a microphone, must be amplified before it can be transferred to a loudspeaker. In this case, if you look at this example here, somebody talking into that microphone, there will be an electrical signal to an amplifier. That amplifier will amplify to, for instance, 100 volt. That's quite common in our applications. And then this loudspeaker will transduce or turn that electrical signal into sound waves. It's actually movement of air in front of the loudspeaker. That's all it does. Loudspeaker categories. We have looked at this before. We go to it quickly again. We have ceiling loudspeakers, cabinet loudspeakers, columns, line arrays, sound projectors, and horns, all with their specific specifications. If you look at ceiling speakers, they're using a wide variety of applications, obviously mounted in a ceiling, in schools or offices, but you can also mount them with some accessories as a pendant version, so hanging on the ceiling. Cabinet loudspeakers, most of the time wall mounted, good for music applications. They have most of the time a good frequency response. Column loudspeakers, it's one house with a number of drivers in a vertical line. That will give you a stronger sound beam, and you can steer that beam to the listening plane, to the place where people are standing or sitting. So that's really good for speech applications. Line arrays, that's similar to a column. We have this also, passive and active line arrays, the Vari, which is a really nice array that you can mount vertically to the wall, and with software you can process the sound to the area where you want to have it. Sound projectors, loudspeakers for directed sound, so you can project the sound into a certain direction. Like for instance in a museum where you have a focus on of a certain spot in the museum, but also corridors, walking paths, etc. Then horn loudspeakers, these speakers can produce high sound pressure levels, so you see them outdoors where you need to cover larger distances, and also very noisy environments like, for instance, factories. The typical use of loudspeakers, we have seen this picture also before, just a general indication what a loudspeaker can do if it's good for speech. Well, most of them are okay for speech, but can it also be used for music? Now we know a horn doesn't have the best frequency response in general. We do have one horn that is a little bit better. We'll see that later on. Cabinet loudspeakers in general are good for music, have a good frequency response. But it could also be that you have a certain combination of ceiling loudspeakers, for instance, with a subwoofer we have, that also can reproduce the frequencies in a very good way, with a very good frequency response. Now, how to choose your loudspeakers? In general, what are we looking at? We're looking at an application, a specific application. We have seen already there are different applications, so you have to look at the category of the loudspeaker. Does it have to be mounted on the wall, in the ceiling? Is it for a auditorium, for instance? Is speech very important? Those kind of categories you can combine also in these loudspeaker categories. Are we going to use it indoors or outdoors? Is the IP rating important? Does it have to be used in a voice alarm system? So does it have to be certified for EM54? What is the noise level? Yeah, we looked at that quite in detail. You must know what the noise level in the room is. So make sure that you will choose a loudspeaker that can handle a certain sound pressure level at a certain distance from that loudspeaker. Right, that's important. Do you have to use it for speech or also for music? So look at the frequency response. If you need a loudspeaker also for music, well, don't choose a horn, for instance, that has not the best frequency response. Look at a cabinet loudspeaker, for instance, or a sound system with a dedicated subwoofer. How much amplifier power is available? Like I already said, you need to know the power rating of the loudspeaker. If you have to install multiple loudspeakers in a room or in a building, you have to add up in a 100-volt system. You have to add up all the power and calculate how much power it is altogether and match it to your amplifier power. Now, one thing we also mentioned is the tapping of a loudspeaker. 100-volt loudspeakers with a transformer have tapping, so you can reduce the power with 50% each tapping. But be aware again, if you reduce the power with 50%, you will also lose 3 dB of sound pressure level. So be aware of that. Now let's look into a little bit more detail of the type of loudspeakers. Ceiling loudspeaker. Remember, if you have a low ceiling, you will get these gaps in between. So the lower the ceiling, of course, the wider the gap will be. So you need more loudspeakers to cover this gap, or you choose a loudspeaker that has a wider opening angle, like you see in the picture below. So keep that in mind. If you have a lower ceiling, maybe the opening angle or coverage angle of a loudspeaker could be important. Now the height of the ceiling is also important in relation to the sound pressure level. If you look at the sound pressure levels a loudspeaker can deliver at 1 meter, that is specified in the data sheet. Each doubling of the distance away from that loudspeaker will reduce the sound pressure level with 6 dB. So here in this example, the specification of this loudspeaker is 90 dB on axis, 1 meter away from this loudspeaker. If you move away 2 meters, so let's say this the listening area where people are sitting or standing is 2 meters away from that loudspeaker, you will have only 84 dB left. And then looking at the environment, if you the sound to noise ratio we talked about, if the sound level is for instance 70 dB or up to 74 dB, then this loudspeaker at 2 meters will be sufficient. What you could also do, of course, is look at the pendant loudspeaker, so you can reduce the distance from the loudspeaker, of course, to the listening plane. If you have very high ceilings, you might consider sound projectors or horns or pendant loudspeakers. Yeah, here below in this example, you see the Hemi. That's a large loudspeaker. We've seen it already in the introduction. Yeah, used a lot in warehouses, big exhibition halls, and things like that. So large environments where and high ceilings where you want to install these. Instead of maybe 10 loudspeakers or 15, you can install just this one loudspeaker to cover the area. For ceiling loudspeakers, the mounting depth might also be of interest. Keep in mind the premium sound loudspeakers that we have, like you see here on this picture, the LC2, LC20, and the sub, the LC6 sub. They are quite large in the back, so you need to keep in mind that they need a lot of space behind in the ceiling. It could be up to 354 millimeters. And then again, we also have a very small, the Spotlight version of the LC5 with actually quite a good sound in it. Easy to install. You can just drill a hole in the ceiling and click it in. So that could also be a choice. Then the type of grill, there are different materials, metal or ABS, plastic. Yeah, ABS is in general cheaper, so the choice could also relate to the price of a loudspeaker, of course. Then the selection of sound, if you need sound music, let's say in the area, Then look at for a ceiling speaker, look at the premium sound speakers like the LC2, the LC20, or the sound system, the LC6 sound system with a dedicated subwoofer. Cabinet loudspeakers. Yeah, cabinet loudspeakers in general are good for music. They have a good frequency response. Most of them have two drivers, a small one and a big one. The small one for the lower frequencies. Sorry, the small one for the higher frequencies and the big one for the lower frequencies. Most of them are mounted to the wall. They have mounting brackets, like for instance the LB20, which is designed to install very easily, like you see here on the picture. You mount a backplate to the wall, and there's a bubble level meter inside, so you can see if it's horizontal or not. And just mount it to the wall, the wires through it, and then you can just slide the loudspeaker over it, and it's done. Now, the larger a driver is, the better it can handle lower frequencies. We have, for instance, the LB6 sound system, which has a dedicated subwoofer, but we also have the LB20s, which is a bit bigger, which you can use in combination with different types of loudspeakers, like for instance the other LB20 cabinet loudspeakers in combination with this subwoofer. Then you will have really good sound. Now the 100-volt systems, as you know, all have a transformer. Now a transformer, like anything that you introduce into the audio signal path, will introduce also noise, etc., and also a transformer. It's also depending on the quality of a transformer, how well it can transform actually the signal that is put on it. So if you have the possibility to connect a loudspeaker at low impedance, yeah, the performance will be better. Now, some of these amplifiers also have a low impedance output. Like for instance, here you see on the picture, the planar matrix actually has 4 types of outputs: a 4 ohm, 8 ohm, 17 volt and 100 volt outputs. So that's really convenient. You can connect different types of loudspeakers to this amplifier. Columns. Columns are good. They have good speech intelligibility. The reason is that you can point them at an area, so you will have less influence of reflections and things like that. You can use them indoors, outdoors. They're the certified column loudspeakers. So in applications where directivity is important, to avoid reflections from walls, etc., column speakers are a good choice. For instance, yeah, places of worship, conference venues, airports, for instance, where you have a lot of glass, maybe and marble in the room. These loudspeakers are very good. Then the line arrays, XLA stands for extended listening area. These are improved column loudspeakers actually. They have the same principle. You aim them at the area where people are standing or listening, but the performance of a line array is a little bit better. So you can cover a larger area, like you see here on the right. The amount of people sitting, so the area you can cover with an XLA is a little bit larger compared to a conventional column loudspeaker. So depending on the size of the room, the area that you have to cover, you can make a choice for either well, a conventional column loudspeaker or the XLAs. And the line arrays, the term line array is quite common in live sound. If you go to a festival, you have seen those J-shaped arrays, or bananas they call them. Yeah, the reason that they're not in a straight line, but they're, let's say, bent in a J shape to cover all the areas. So that's obvious. The ones below are for the people that are standing close to the stage, and the top ones are pointed at the people that are way in the back. So that is how these line arrays operate. But in fact, they are the same like the line arrays we used in a straight line. Then the active line array we have, the Vari. That is a special one because it has power on it and DSP inside. You can also configure this line array. One of the benefits is that you can mount it vertically to the wall, so you don't have to aim it. So for an architect, this is a real nice choice because yeah, he can blend it into the room. Now, how does it work? You can yeah, make your configuration depending on the room, even if the floor is tilted, like you see here on the right side. So you can have an optimal sound field on that area where people are sitting or standing. There is configuration software delivered with this or available for this Vari line array, where you can do all this, and it can cover up to an area of 50 meters. There is a combination of these loudspeakers, a bass unit, and two extenders. That's the maximum size you can have. Can cover up an area of 50 meters, so that's quite a large area. Then we have a specific one, the Vari BH. They have coaxial drivers, so the performance of those drivers, the frequency response of those drivers is a little bit better compared to the common Vari Bay unit. Okay, sound projectors. Yeah, sound projector. The word says so. You project the sound, so they're directive. You can point them to a certain direction, for instance, the listening area. They're really good for applications like subways, hallways, corridors. So you can mount them inside those areas and point them into a certain direction. We also have a bidirectional sound projector, like you see in the pictures here. So if you mount those in a corridor or a walkway or something, it will point into two directions at the same time. And we have a specific sound projector. I already talked about it. This is the Hemi. Yeah, it will cover a large area. These loudspeakers are really good to use in yeah, warehouses, large exhibition halls and things like that. So instead of installing many loudspeakers for the same area, you can use just one. So it will save you on installation cost and loudspeaker costs, most likely. Yeah, okay, here the warehouses, factories, industry, yeah, larger rooms and where you have to cover large areas. Now the horn loudspeaker, as you know, a horn loudspeaker is typically a loudspeaker that can deliver a high sound pressure level. So yeah, you will use it for outdoor applications, most likely to cover large distances. It's suitable for speech, but yeah, we have seen the example already with the frequency response. It's not really good for music. Yeah, outdoor applications, noisy applications like factories. Well, the higher your SPL it will be. We have different horns with different sound pressure levels. Yeah, the highest SPL can cover a larger distance, of course. We have one horn loudspeaker, the LBC 3405, which is actually a modular horn. You can use different drivers for it. So you see here on the right side also the drivers. We have a 15 watt, a 30 watt and a 50 watt driver. It's just a matter of mounting them into the horn And then you will have different powers, but also different sound pressure levels. So depending on your application, choose the right driver for it. Then a specific horn we have. This horn has 2 drivers inside, so that's quite unique. It will improve the frequency response of this horn. So if you need high sound pressure levels, maybe outdoors or in a hall or something, and you also want to use music on it, then this horn, this LH1 UC30 horn is a good horn to choose. Like you see here on the frequency response, it's quite a good response for a horn. If you compare it to the horn we saw in the previous sheet, this is quite good frequency response. Yeah, again, the horn is not your first choice for music. If it's important to have music, then you might want to choose for a cabinet loudspeaker or a sound system with a dedicated subwoofer or something like that. Then we have specific horns, marine horns, which you can use near the sea, in a salty environment, or on a ship or near the shore. We have 2 horns, a big one and a small one. And another specific one is the explosion-proof loudspeaker. Now this loudspeaker is sealed, so gas cannot enter the horn, gas or dust. So if inside the horn, if there would be an electrical spark or something like that, it will not cause an explosion. So for factories with oil, gas, this horn on the outside could be a good choice. Okay, let's look at the loudspeaker selection tools. We have a selection guide on paper. This one you see here, an example on the right. You can make a selection of the different categories and then look for the loudspeakers that you require. For more detailed information, you can also go to the product catalog and go to our site http://boschsecurity.com, and then click on the find your local product catalog, choose your country and region, and then you select the loudspeakers. You have the different choices as you see here on the right, the different loudspeaker categories. Then we have also the loudspeaker selection guide app. This is an app which is available in iOS and Android. So you can download it and use it on your mobile phone, for instance, on your smartphone. What it allows you to do, it's you see here on the right, on the bottom, you see a number of selection options, collection, categories, favorites, and information. Now, in the categories, you see the categories that we have just discussed of all the loudspeakers. So you can start with a selection of categories. And then on the right top, there's an option to filter some things. So if you need specific specifications or some kind of installation method that you require, if IP rating maybe is of importance, and if you want to look for accessories, you can filter that all out. So we have a little look at those filters. The specification filter. In the specification filter, you can select the rated power. So if you have a project where you have maybe an amplifier that can deliver 250 watt or 500 watt, you can say, okay, I need 20 10 watt loudspeakers or 20 30 watt loudspeakers or whatever. You can make a selection of the rated power of the loudspeaker. You can also make a selection of the sound pressure level. The maximum sound pressure level makes sense to make those kind of selections. The opening angle of the loudspeaker, like if you want a ceiling loudspeaker with a certain opening angle, you can make that selection. and also the sound quality in relation to the frequency response is good for music or not. Then the installation filter. In the installation filter, you can select the audio input. Does it have to be a high impedance or a low impedance a loudspeaker? You can also select 0 dB. That's for the active loudspeaker that we have, the Vari. The type of mounting in the ceiling, maybe pendant versions. The mounting methods, there are different methods to mount it on a ceiling. Also, if it's paintable and the type of material, and the supervision of the provisioning of a supervision board, the supervision of the loudspeaker line, end of line loudspeaker supervision board. Then the filter for the environment. There are quite some environment filters you can use. EM54, for instance, the IP rating, like you see here on the right, ball proof, mechanical impact, recommended for reverberant areas, salt, UV or chlorine resistance, likely for a swimming pool or so, outdoors, wind force, and explosion proof. Then the filter for accessories. The selection you can make here of the inclusion of a back box that you put on the back of a ceiling loudspeaker, a surface mounting box, so you can also mount it to a wall or something like that. Fire dome, a metal fire dome. The tile bridge, the bridge that you mount into a tiled ceiling. Pilot tone indication board, that's quite specific. You can see then on the rim of a ceiling loudspeaker if there's a pilot tone present or not. And you can also make a selection for a floor stand. Now, if you click on a typical or a specific loudspeaker, then you will see, for instance, here on the right, you will see the LC1 UMO6. E8, you see all these things that are applicable to these to this loudspeaker, like the specifications. You can see that the rated power is 6 watts, the sound pressure level, opening angle, installation methods, environment, etc. So you will have, in one glance, you will have an overview of all these specifications of this loudspeaker. Now, if you want to keep this loudspeaker that you have selected, if you want to keep it in the back of your mind, you can also send an email to yourself, for instance, or to somebody else maybe. You can mail it by clicking on this share button. Then this person owning this email address will get a notification about it. You can also store a selection of loudspeakers in your favorites memory. Just click on the star, then it will be listed in your favorites, like you see here on the right. And the final option you have is to find a Bosch dealer near you. If you click on that, you will be guided through or routed through the boschsecurity.com website, where you can look for a dealer site in your area. Now, more information about this app you can find on the internet. Just go to appcenter.bosch.com, and then in the search area here, type in the word loudspeaker, and then you will see the details of the Bosch loudspeaker selection app. Okay, last subject, the loudspeaker data files. Modeling sound sources data files we produce for loudspeakers in 4 formats. The first one is CLF, common loudspeaker format. You see on the right CF2 extensions. The GLL files, which can be used in EaseAddress and EaseEvac, and the SPK files for Ease and USB files for Ulysses. Now, all these files you can find in the product category. So just go online to the boschsecurity.com website, and then you go to your region, select your region, like for instance here in Europe. There you go, select your country, and then you click on the public address and voice alarm icon. You will see that on your screen. And then once you're there, click on loudspeakers, and in loudspeakers you will have for each specific loudspeaker, you will have a download section. And in the download section, you can select software in particular. And once you have done that, you will see all the software that is available. And for instance, for ease address, just click on the right side here on the ENUS file, and then you will download the zip file. And this zip file you can save to your computer. And if you look at the content, where you have extracted this file, you will get a data file, and in the data file folder, the GLL files are located. You also see that you will have the ease address executable, so you can immediately also use the or install the ease address software. And once you're using the ease address software, you open it up on the file menu on the top. You can click on options or press F9, and there, if you go to environment, you will have the option to point to your directory where your GLL files are. So you can browse on your PC where you have put those GLL files, those data files, and then when you open up ease address, it will look for the GLL files in this directory that you have defined. So once you have done that, you're good to go with ease address and use the Bosch GLL files. Now for the CLF files, the common loudspeaker format files, we also have a zip file. It works in the same way. Click on the ENUS underneath language. It will download the zip file, and there you will have the CLF files available as well. This software, this interface is free. It's a free viewer. You can download it from the clfgroup.org website. And it supports Get Acoustics, Lara, and Odeon files. So if you, it's supported by those manufacturers of software. Also with these this view, you can see balloons and polar plots and such, and also dedicated acoustical data, like you see here, sensitivity of the loudspeakers. It's quite a nice view. Okay, Maarten, are there any questions? Okay, the web page. Yeah, I can show the web page if you like. Just a second. I'll share my screen. Just a minute.
Oh, sorry, I was still on mute. I see now.
Yeah, I saw a message here, but I can do that. Let's have a look. That's maybe maybe a good example.
Yeah.
I will have to share. I have to share Firefox. Now, okay. Let me just go to boschsecurity.com.
Yeah, this is the link which I've just put here in the chat box as well. So this is the new consultant webpage that we have online.
Yeah, so if you go to the boschsecurity.com website, like I just showed, here you'll have the option to look for your local product catalog. So you click on the local product catalog. Then here, like I showed, you have your region. We're in Europe. Now let's look for the English version. Let's go to the United Kingdom. And then you will have the option to select the product you're looking for. So here you have an overview of all the products that we have. And in our case, we select public address and voice alarm. And here you have the hardware, so the amplifiers, mixers, commercial sound, digital PA like Presenza and Presidio,
Yeah.
microphones, and these are the loudspeakers
Yeah.
listed here.
Jan Peter, can you also click on the link in the chat once?
A link in the chat.
Mhm.
Okay, let me have a look. Just go back. Wait a minute, Maarten. Chat. Here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you continue. Yeah. So this is a new web page where we now have around Bosch PA all the resources for design and specification. So we have here the design tools, we have access to the data sheets, we have A&E specifications, the EASE files, the BIM files, also application designs with examples. So I just wanted to show that in case you like to work with Bosch products for designing. We have now this web page where everything basically comes together. Yeah, that's what I just wanted to add as an additional note.
All right. Very good.
Yeah, maybe we can go to the questions. So the first question is, how about low temperature loudspeakers? Loudspeakers in that I use on seaside, dealing with salty mist. What about suitable models, and what about material properties to look out for?
Yeah, the environment, you have to do an environment check. So you have to look for uh, the the salt um, um, specification of a loudspeaker, because the salt will corrode the metal parts of a loudspeaker. So yeah, look for specific loudspeakers which are tested for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that in the app, for instance, and check the filter.
Is there a specific filter setting which you need to set to find these speakers?
Yeah, if you go to the app, you will see the salt resistant icon. If you select it, NaCl, NaCl, those kind of loudspeakers are can be used on ships, maybe in salty environments like shore.
Yeah.
If you
And how
if you live
about
near the sea.
temperature environments? Is that also something which you can select in the app?
No, but they are specified. The environment is, let's say, the temperatures are specified in the data sheets.
Okay.
So you have to look for those specific ones. There's not a filter for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then a question, can you explain a bit more about this 0 dBV, which I saw on one of the slides? You mentioned something about active loudspeaker. What is this parameter?
Yeah, 0 dBV. That's just an indication that it's not a loudspeaker that needs an amplified signal. So you can just connect a line level input to it, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
The Vari has also the option for 100 volt, but okay, 0 dBV is actually unity gain that is indicating the maximum power that the loudspeaker can deliver. But it's just a way to indicate that this loudspeaker is an active loudspeaker and does not require an amplifier.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then there is a question, will we send a PowerPoint after the webinar? Yes, we will. So after the webinar, we will send a thank you email for joining. It will have a link to the recorded session of this webinar, and it will also include the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Further, I don't see any questions at this moment. If there is any questions still left, please be free to post it. Okay. Can you provide loudspeakers which are suitable for minus 30 degrees?
Ooh, yeah, that is a tough one. I don't think we have that in our portfolio. That's really cold.
Hmm.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. No other questions. So please, if you have a question, feel free to post it. In the meantime, we'll already talk about the upcoming webinar. So we are not done yet. There will be more on loudspeakers on the 16th of December. So please feel free to join it and learn more from Jan Peter about these about the loudspeakers and basics of PA. Let me see. I see a lot of thanks a lot questions coming in now or posts. So I guess there are no open questions anymore. In that case, I would like to thank you for attending and hope to see you back on the 16th for the next session on loudspeakers. Then we will talk about improving speech intelligibility. Okay. Thanks a lot and have a good day to you all. Bye bye.